Hi and welcome to Autocad Bytes. Today I'd like to look at the non-uniform scale parameter of the properties dialog box for blocks. And what in particular I want to look at is using a street scene of houses and projecting elevations down from that street scene and drawing houses that are not perpendicular to the view. We're going to be looking at the block command, we're going to be looking at the properties dialog box, the scale properties of the property box, and we're going to be using a calculator to calculate how much we have to scale these blocks down by. So we have a look at the model. What I've set up here is a standard house type. I've ignored the back of the property because I'm not interested in that at the moment, or the internal workings. So I have a floor plan, a very basic front elevation and a very basic end elevation. I've set up a very simple street scene, so we've got the road, driveways in. Your first house is perpendicular to the view, your second house is slightly oblique. So this is the one that we're going to concentrate on. First of all, we'll project some lines down. So this is where we're going to be drawing our street elevation. So I'm going to use the XL command, which is the construction line. So XL, type XL, enter, then V for vertical, enter, and then just click on the edges of the house. And on the one that's oblique to the view, we just want to pick the three important corners that we're going to see. Now I'm going to create a very rough, crude block out of this front elevation. Now to do that, you hold down the Control and the Shift key and then press C on the keyboard once. It's asking me for a base point, so I pick the bottom left hand corner of the building, and now it's asking me for the objects that I want to turn into a block. So it's these objects here, and press enter. Now that's copied all of those objects to the clipboard using a base point. To get those objects back as a very rough, crude block, if you hold down Shift, Control and type in V for paste, and then it drops the block back in using this insertion point, and I click that. Now you can see it's a block, and if I do a list on it, which is LI, you can see the block is, AutoCAD has given it this very rough name, which normally you shouldn't do. You should name your blocks so you can find them, but for this instance we're just doing it quickly so it doesn't matter too much. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to copy this block across, so CP for copy, enter, pick the objects, enter, pick on the base point and move it across to where that front elevation will be here. Now you can see, because the house is oblique in plan, the elevation of the building projects beyond where you would actually see it in elevation. I want to do the same for this end elevation, so Shift Control C to pick a base point and then select the objects and enter. Moving back down to this point here, Shift Control V to paste and just drop it in there. Now obviously it's the wrong rotation, so if we do RO for rotate, enter, select the objects you want to rotate, enter, pick the base point and then move the cursor up so it rotates in an anti-clockwise direction and press enter. Now here we have it. The end elevation, as you can see, is a lot more oblique than the front elevation, so it's going to project further past our extension lines. First thing I want to do is dimension our projected extension lines and the actual elevations. So using dimension, I'm going to dimension this point here, which is our projected line, and this point here, which is our other projected line down, and then the actual elevation of the end and the actual elevation of the building. Now if I click on the block and go to the properties dialog box, I have these X, Y and Z scale parameters. Currently they're set to 1, and that's because we're not scaling the block at all. The way we can shrink this block down is by giving it a scale factor of less than 1. Now to work the scale factor out, the simplest way is to bring up your calculator, clear off, and we take the largest distance, the shortest distance, which is in this case 2572, and divide it by the longer distance, which is the 6 meters, and that equals 0.428. We don't have to go to the nth degree. That 0.428 is going to be more than enough. I'm just going to move these dimensions out the road so because they will move when I shrink this block down. So picking on this block, going to the scale factor and picking the X scale factor, we get 0.428. Oh, wrong one. Pick on 1. We want to scale the Y factor of 0.428. Try that again, 0.428. That's better. Okay, now for the other elevation, we want to clear that off and say that 9035 divided by 10 meters equals 0.903. Again, select this block and choosing the Y, 0.903. Oh, wrong one again. 0.903. It might take a little bit of experimenting which one to actually select. Okay, so now I've managed to shrink my house down, and in doing so it's shrunk down all of the windows on the front plan and the end elevation. Now there would have been a lot of work in projecting down each individual line from these elevations and any overhanging dormers or overhanging porte cocheres going into the building. Sorry, my virus definition has just jumped up then. So what we've done is we've managed to shrink the whole thing down without too much of a headache with having to redraw all of these. Now there's a little bit of cleaning up we have to do here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these projected lines down, and I'm going to, there's a little bit of overlap of line here, so I'm just going to move one on top of the other. And then I'm going to explode both of these blocks. So X on the keyboard, pick each of these blocks and explode, and now they should just be single line elements. I can extend, so EX for extend, that line across, or we can use the grips by highlighting elements and just pulling the grips back to the points where the buildings converge. I don't need this line here. I need to get this line angling at the pitch of the roof, so I'm going to copy CP, enter, pick the object, pick the base point and copy that along there, and then just trim, so TR, enter, and if you press enter again everything becomes a cutting edge and you can just chop things off like that. Now I also have a bit of an overhang. I have a 200mm overhang on the gable end of the building, so I'm just going to project a line down from the roof line, and then I'm going to move, M for move, enter, select all of that end there and move it across to be perpendicular to this line here. Now I haven't got the perpendicular snap turned on, but a way of accessing it is if I hold down the shift key on the keyboard and right click with the mouse, I get a floating menu here where I can choose perpendicular from the menu, and then that'll snap to that perpendicular projected line. I can extend, so EX, enter, and then enter again to select everything as an extension boundary and project those lines up there. Now while I'm still in this command, if I hold down the shift key, it'll turn it into the trim command, so I can start trimming things off. Let go of the shift key. Oh, I don't want to project that up just yet. I can delete that. Now there should be a underside of this gable end that you'll also see, so I'm going to copy this line just up there and draw a line across there just to neaten that up, and trim using everything as a cutting boundary. Delete that, and you can see now I've very quickly trimmed up this elevation, so it looks quite neat. And that is how to use non-uniform scale in blocks to create oblique elevations.